Panagdait sa Tanan. Today we will talk about the RCCP title A Corporate Books and Records, which this is a relatively short title and covered by Section 73 and Section 74. Now for the Section 73, we will not be read out loud because some of it is self-explanatory. We will just point out some provisions like how should be book kept carefully and preserved at its principal office. And this is why important to state in articles where the principal office of the corporation will be, so that the stockholders know where to request for inspection of the books.
Required books and records to be kept by corporations under Section 73 under the RCCP. First, Articles of Incorporation and Bylaws and all their amendments. Second, now when we talk about her letter B, where you see the word beneficial ownership, this is covered another SEC memorandum circular where corporations are required to report beneficial ownership of shares. So what do I mean by beneficial ownership? There's actually a very long list as to what is constitute. Ultimately, beneficial ownership is a natural person, not a corporation. So natural person who ultimately owns or controls corporation or exercises ultimate effective control over it. What does it mean? Usually, some corporation we will all know owned by one person. So you have to go beyond what is just seen. But I just like to point out that there's a percentage given in determining whether a natural person owns beneficial ownership over the shares, and that is when they have at least 25% of voting rights, voting shares, or capital of the reporting corporation in case where there's a corporation. For example, Corporation A, if will have to report to the SEC if 25% of voting shares is owned by particular person. Now, failure to report beneficial ownership, the SEC Memorandum Circular also gives administrative penalties to the corporation, to the director, trustee, and officer who are responsible for failing to report. This is on top of any penalties under the corporation code. Third, information regarding governing board. Dito ilalagay ang mga details and information. Fourth, a record of all business transactions. So yung record of all business transactions would include journals, ledgers, financial statements, income tax returns, vouchers, receipts, contracts, and all papers pertaining to the operation of the corporation of interest to the stockholders or the members and as applicable. Fifth, the record of resolutions. Sixth, reportorial requirements which is to be submitted to the SEC.
7. The minutes books for meeting of the stockholders or members or the board of directors or trustee. Note that upon the demand of any director, trustee or stockholder or member, the time when any director, trustee, stockholder or member entered or left must be noted in the minutes. So it's a little bit tedious if there are a lot of stockholders because this should be done only upon a demand. It's not all the time. And on a similar demand, the yeas and ayes, meaning the approvals and disapproval stores, certain motion proposed during meeting. The protest of any director, trustee, stockholder, or member, or any action must be recorded in full upon their demand. So, these three things I just stated are only written down if there is a demand to do so.
Moreover, minutes will set forth in detail among others. It's prepared by secretarian and also it should be signed by said corporate secretary. If it's not signed, remember, it will not have any probative value or credibility. Yan ang tandaan natin in case of minutes. What else? In addition to the minutes, the corporation must also keep a stock and transfer book in case of stock corporation. So dyan ang stock and transfer book is a record of all stocks in the names of the stockholders and such other entries as the bylaws may prescribe. But in case of a non-stock corporation, meron dapat silang membership book or a list of members. It may also include a list of the proxies of the members.
Time of inspection at reasonable hours on business days. Any director, trustee, stockholder, or member of the corporation has the right of inspection over the records and books of the corporation at reasonable hours on business days, and he may demand, in writing, for a copy of excerpts from and said records or minutes at his expense. In addition, since a stockholder has the right to examine the books and records of the corporation, it must be exercised in good faith for a specific and honest purpose, and not to gratify curiosity or speculative or vexatious purposes. Right of inspection through agent. The stockholders' right of inspection can be exercised either by himself or by any proper representative or attorney in fact, and either with or without the attendance of the stockholder. So, the inspection is also seen in this that the addition or the revision to this provision is that now under the revised corporation code, a representative may inspect on behalf of director, trustee, stockholder, or member at any reasonable hour on a business day. This is important because most of the time, stockholders do not know how to determine the true financial position of a company. Now, in any case that the inspection or the reproduction of any item or in the book is bound by the confidentiality rules and also by trade secrets. There may be and also the time where the right can be denied, and this is to a requesting party who is not a stockholder on record or is a competitor of another corporation. So, although the corporation could normally give the penalties to the corporation and its trustee, members, stockholders, and board members. So the restriction and right to inspection records. If the person making the demand has improperly used any information secured through any prior examination of the records of such corporation or of any other corporation, if such person was not acting in good faith or for the legitimate purpose in making the demand. About the penalties under the officers and agents who refuse to allow inspection under Section 161, if the refusal made pursuant to a resolution, then the liability shall be imposed on all directors and trustees who voted for the refusal. So, the general rule is that the corporation must allow a stockholder's right to demand if the board determines that the reason for the request to inspect is for improper purposes, which I will discuss shortly. Then it is a defense, so it cannot be that the refusal will be the general rule. It is actually a defense or justifying circumstances for the officer, so they are generally liable for the refusal except if they are able to prove a good reason of such refusal. If the corporation denies that the act made, the agreed party may be report it to the commission within 5 days from receipt of the report, meaning the report refusing inspection, and in that case, the commission can actually conduct a summary hearing. About a stock transfer agent, because it's actually a business and it's allowed as subject to certain requirements as to when an entity can be considered a stock transfer agent. This is because for the most corporation it would be tedious for the corporate secretary to enter each and every movement in the stocks, especially for the corporation with numerous stockholders and stocks.
To summarize, what must be maintained in the principal office are the books of minutes of the stockholders or members meeting, the books of minutes of board meetings, the record or book of all business transactions, the staff and transfer book, the record of resolutions, and the record of SEC file reports. Note that when we talk about the minutes, the signatures of the director is not necessary as a linear certification of the corporate secretary. What if the stock and transfer book is lost? A new stock and transfer book may be made as long as there are secondary or other evidence introduced to reconstitute its contents. So what happened is that if the new stock and transfer book is presented to the SDC for registration with a sworn statement as to how it was lost, when you say that their secondary or intrinsic evidence may be introduced, usually you present it to the SEC to prove that what you are writing down in the new stock and transfer book is actually the same as to what was in the new stock and transfer book.
Moreover, bylaws can actually restrict the right of inspection in as long as it's reasonable. What do I mean by that? It can say that the right to inspection can be at particular times of the day, but this restriction cannot be made to the extent that, say, in a Supreme Court case. The notice of inspection can only be between the 15th of the 20th 25th of January. So that is unreasonable because out of 365 days, you can only inspect it within those 11 days. So the SEC already clarified that when you talk about the right to inspect, it covers all books, including journals, ledgers, financial statements, vouchers, receipts, contracts, and all papers pertaining to the corporation. And this is why it is good revision to now allow representative of the stockholders to inspect. So, why is there a right inspection given to the stockholders or members? It is to know how for the stockholders, now it's to know their investment is being used or to determine the actual condition of the company. It cannot be made meaning one of the unjustified reasons or one of the reasons why refusal to the right is allowed is if the inspection is made merely to gratify one's curiosity. You just want to look so the board can refuse it. Why? Because it's difficult. Siyempre, if someone inspects it, then the corporation have to take time and manpower to collect all the things you need. Look at also there needs to be someone more. This is practical to ask someone, siyempre to watch over the stockholder just to make sure that the integrity of the records are intact. No alterations are made or nothing is stolen. So, the Supreme Court ruled in one case that a stockholder who wants to avail of his right to inspect must set forth in his request for inspection the reasons. So, what are improper purposes aside from just gratifying curiosity, learning business secrets to eat the competitor is one. Another one is to secure prospects of for personal business so that in case that where a stockholder plans to put up as corporation in direct competition with the corporation to look for defects or incorporate transaction for blackmail or extraordinary purposes to pursue one's social or political goals or to publish or to embarrass the company business. Although there is a right of inspection, what cannot be demanded is to take the corporate books out of the principal office for the purposes of inspecting them. So you'll ask how can they reproduce if there are a lot. There is actually a Supreme Court case. The inspecting stockholder actually brought photocopy machines just in case there weren't photocopying machines by the corporation. So what's not covered by the right to inspection, as I said, secret formulae or processes. Take note that if you read through the provisions that the penalty for the penalties provided therein against the directors and trustees are section under 161. What can be the remedy if a stockholder is refused the right to inspection? That is mandamus. It is a particular type of case before the court and damages of file a case for violation of the revised corporation code under 161 and also section 73. So, the sanction we'll see under section 73 applies only to the two directors or officers who are acting on behalf of the corporation and refusing to deliver the stock transfer book. This does not apply to the third persons or the officers who are not acting on behalf of a corporation. So, what's an example of a third persons? say security guard, or a secretary who does not allow you to enter the premises that's they're covered by the Section 73.
Section 74, Rights to Financial Statements. Right of stockholders or members to financial statements. Within 10 days from receipt of a written request of any stockholders or members, the corporation shall furnish to him its most recent financial statement in the form and substance of the financial reporting required by the SEC. Duty of board to present annual financial report. At a regular meeting of stockholders or members, the board of directors or trustees shall present to such stockholders or members a financial report of the operation of the corporation for the preceding year, which shall include financial statements duly signed and certified in accordance with the RCCP and the rules the SEC be prescribed.
In addition, financial statements must be duly signed and certified in accordance with the RCCP and the rules that SEC may prescribe, except that if the total assets or total liabilities of the corporation is less than 600,000 or such other amount is made determined appropriate by the Department of Finance. The financial statement may be certified under oath by the treasurer and the president. The financial statements must be audited by the independent certified public accountant if the total assets or total liabilities of the corporation is 600,000 and above.
Financial statements should include balance sheet as of the end of the last taxable year. Balance sheet gives a statement of the assets and the liabilities together with the proprietary accounts, capital, and surplus. It attempts to summarize the results of the accounts of the corporation and to give at least some indication of its financial condition as of the end of the fiscal year.
Second, a profit and loss statement for the said taxable year exhibits the income for a specific period, such as a year or a quarter. It is concerned with the encouraging results and the gain or loss of fiscal period.
Regular meetings of the stockholders or board of directors. Visitorial power involves the power of superintending and regulating corporations to see that they are complying with and observing the rules and regulations governing their corporate existence. SEC can order a trial examination of books and records of accounts of corporations whether complaint has been filed by stockholders or not. Basis of stockholders' right of inspection is based upon their ownership of the assets and property of the corporation. Right of an inspection not absolute. The right of inspection granted by Section 74 of the Corporation Code, now Section 73 Revised Corporation Code, is not absolute as when the stockholders is not acting in good faith and for a legitimate purpose or when the demand is purely speculative or merely to satisfy curiosity.
Limitation of the right of inspection. First, the person demanding the right has not improperly used any information obtained through any previous examination of the books and records of the corporation. Second, the demand is made in good faith or for a legitimate purposes. Lastly, the person demanding the right is not a competitor, director, officer, controlling stockholder, or otherwise represent the interests of the competitor. Stock transfer agent. Stock transfer agent is one engaged principally in the business of registering transfer of stocks. Note that the stock corporation is not precluded from the performing or making transfer of its own stocks, in which case all the rules and regulations imposed on stock transfer agents except the payment of the license fee shall be applicable. Note that the SEC may require stock corporation which transfer or trade stocks in secondary markets to have independent transfer agent. The general rule of the corporate books and the records are I all the above books and records must be kept at the principal office of the corporation, which the exemption the stock and transfer book may be kept in the principal office of the corporation or in the office of its stock and transfer agent if any. So by the way, I am Alvin Corpus Zalaman.
And Manido Princess Jane.
So thank you.